The alliance between the Samajwadi Party and the Bahujan Samaj Party could prove to be a big turning point just months before the general election. The bitter rivals have joined hands to push back against the BJP that won 71 out of the 80 seats that Uttar Pradesh contributes to the Lok Sabha. Now, while UP with 15% seats in the Lok Sabha is often considered the pathway to power in Delhi, it's important to assess the extent of damage this alliance could do to the BJP and what it also means for the Congress. Can the BJP still hope to win 2019 after a very powerful alliance in Uttar Pradesh? To speak on this, I'm joined today by a political editor at Hindustan Times, Vinod Sharma. Yashwant Deshmukh, MD and Chief Editor of C Voter Broadcast, joins us today as well. We're also speaking with a political commentator and strategist, Amitabh Tiwari. Welcome to all of you and thank you for speaking with us at Bloomberg Quint. I'm going to start by asking you, Yashwant, that C Voter put out a poll in December, just about a month ago, which said that if the SP and the BSP form an alliance in Uttar Pradesh, the NDA will be 19 short of the tally, that they will lose at least 19 seats. What is your estimate that now that we know the contours of this alliance and also the fact that the Congress and RLD have been left out?
Our tracker is not just for the 1 month. In fact, in the last 6 months, we have been consistently saying ever since the by-poll results came out that if the Mahagathbandhan goes ahead, then BJP is likely to lose big number of seats, not just 19 seats. I mean, if I'm correct, then the tracker had projected 28 seats for the BJP, almost down way from 73. Along with the alliance partners Apna Dal in UP. So that's a huge possible drop of seats in Uttar Pradesh alone, and that is pure arithmetic that we have been projecting very clearly, and that tracker for the last 6 months has been saying the same thing. So it's not new, it's nothing new, because by default, ever since the by-poll elections happened in Uttar Pradesh, we have been taking MGB as the default option in UP minus the Congress. So our MGB calculations did have SP plus BSP plus Ajit Singh in account.
Okay, what is the extent of damage then? The basic question we're asking, Amitabh, is that even with the SP and BSP together, and everyone's done some calculations, you've done some too in an article with BloombergQuint.com of what the seat share and the vote shares could look like with these two parties together. But in the overall picture, do you think it rules out a second term for the BJP, or are there ways to go about it even with the loss that they might bear in Uttar Pradesh?
See, of course, it's a formidable alliance, but in politics or in elections, 2 plus 2 is not always 4. It's either more than 4 or less than 4. All depends upon the abilities of both the parties to seamlessly transfer their votes to each other. And we've seen even in Bihar, when there was a very formidable alliance of Lalu and Nitish and Congress, the leakage was as high as 5%. So 5% or 10% leakage from the SPs and BSPs vote share, which is, if you add them up, it is around 42%, I think, is huge. 5 to 10% would mean 2 to 4% of that vote share. So it all depends upon their ability to transfer the votes and their ability to manage the contradictions in this alliance. Mind you, they have been at loggerheads for each other for the past 25 years. They have been the principal opponents and contesting very fiercely. Plus, they have vote blocks like Yadavs and Dalits and Jats and Muslims, which may not go together. So these vote blocks are very antagonistic towards each other. Very few minorities, very few Yadavs vote for BSP candidates, and very few Dalits vote for Yadav candidates. So it's going to be a huge challenge for Mahagathbandhan to effectively transfer this theoretically and arithmetically strong alliance onto the ground. And your question on does it stop Modi from getting another term? I've done an article for Quint, and if you see the past 30 years of track record, people or parties who have not done well in in Uttar Pradesh have gone on to form the governments, be it Narasimha Rao, be it Manmohan Singh, 10 years, be it Deve Gowda. So it's not necessary. It is actually a wrong notion that UP is the gateway to power. If the loss, like Yashwant Bhai is saying, is, I would say, if the loss is contained to 19-20 seats, so if BJP gets anywhere around 50, then it will not be a bad performance in my opinion from the point of view of BJP.
Yeah, that's interesting. Vinod Sharma, do you agree that this whole narrative of, Lucknow is the road to Delhi and you have to win UP to get to Delhi, do you think it's overblown? Because there is the rest of the country, though we'll come to it in a minute and see whether BJP has problems over there as well. But your assessment of the impact of SP-BSP together minus Congress RLD and what it does for the BJP?
No, actually, Uttar Pradesh, given the number of seats, it has the highest number of seats, 80 seats. That lends a lot of importance to that state and the way it votes. Yes, of course, there are parties that have not done pretty well in Uttar Pradesh have formed the government at the center. But mind you that the second term of the UPA in power was also on the strength of 21 seats that they won in Uttar Pradesh, when they contested separately from the Samajwadi and the BSP. So all the three parties were 20 plus and the BJP was 10 seats, So this time around, the two of these three parties are going to contest together. Yeah. And there is a possibility of the Congress contesting separately. Now, I don't agree with the theory that, BSP voters have not gone with Samajwadi and Samajwadi voters have not gone with BSP. Mind you, see, this election is going to be more about issues, The leadership will be assumed by issues in these elections, even when the opposition is lacking a face to match that of Prime Minister Modi. And when issues become ascendant, the faces can at times be redundant, because faces are important for what they represent in a country like ours, where education is not evenly spread. So in my personal view, if these two parties get together and they started off well by trying to create a chemistry between their constituents, their individual constituents, with Mayawati saying, supporting Akhilesh against the cases that have been brought against him recently in the mining sector, and Akhilesh saying that any attack on Mayawati should be construed as an attack on him by his workers, his supporters. So there is a clear bid to create a chemistry between their constituents. Similarly, the Congress has been left out of this lineup, but it has not been counted out, if you understand what I'm saying. The two seats have been left for Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi. They have left these two seats voluntarily. And while saying that, Mayawati said, we did that because we didn't want these two leaders to get tied to their constituencies and not be able to campaign in rest of India. So, mind you, there is a chemistry, not just a bid for chemistry, not just between SP and BSP, but also a bid, a tenuous bid, if you may call it, for a chemistry with the Congress as well. You never know what will happen in as the date for election gets closer.
That's very interesting.
My personal viewpoint is that there is a there is a possibility of Congress. Congress is not very ambitious. It wants about 2-digit number of seats. I don't know whether that can be managed, but it can be managed by quid pro quos in other states, where Congress can accommodate them and they can be accommodating Congress in UP.
You're saying the Congress is not very ambitious, wants 2 digits of seats in the overall tally. You mean they're happy even to go from 44 to 99? Is that what you're saying, Mr. Sharma?
No, they're happy if they get 2-digit number of seats to contest.
Okay, in Uttar Pradesh. Okay, that's an interesting point, Yashwant Deshmukh, because that's the sort of conspiracy theory that the Congress has a tacit understanding, which is also seen in the way that Rahul Gandhi and other leaders have responded to this tie-up. Rahul Gandhi was like, yeah, okay, but as long as BJP doesn't win, we don't really mind. Tejasvi Yadav was also there, and it seems like no one's really miffed about the Congress being left out. The conspiracy theory is also that the Congress will try and cut into the BJP's upper caste votes, and the choice of candidates will bear that out. Is that one thing that is not being factored into the entire calculation for Uttar Pradesh? Yashwant?
Though I believe that Congress going all alone is actually going to be beneficial for MGB for obvious reasons. You see, first of all, just like Vinodji, I don't agree with the assessment that the SP and BSP votes are not transferable to each other. They have successfully done this experiment way back in 1993, the assembly election, the first ever election in my professional career that I covered. To be fair, and at that point of time, pretty much everybody was amazed that what kind of results they can yield when they come together. So the vote share, the vote banks are pretty much transferable. There is no reason to believe that they are not transferable, particularly so looking at the results of the 3 by-polls where they were perfectly gelled together. They transferred, and even though to play the devil's advocate, yes, the BJP vote share did not go down big time. In fact, in Kairana, the BJP vote share went up further a point, and they polled almost about 46-47% votes in Kairana. It's the opposition vote was almost about 50%, and they won. So what I'm trying to say, that fact remains that BJP vote shares are not going down in Uttar Pradesh, but fact also remains that arithmetic of this opposition coalition, opposition MGB works, and they have pretty much shown that, proven that in the by-election results. As far as Congress is concerned, I believe if there is one vote bank which is absolutely non-transferable, that is Congress. So Mayawati is a very smart player. She knows for sure that Congress would walk away with the vote bank of Mayawati, and it will become difficult for her to recover it again. So she is damn smart to say that. Congress vote bank, in fact, on the other way, is not transferable at all. If Congress goes inside as a part and parcel of the MGB, then it is very much likely that whatever the Congress vote, particularly the upper caste votes are there, they might rather switch over lock, stock and barrel to the BJP. So the Congress placing up 80 candidates in UP is actually kind of eating up votes of the BJP, particularly in the upper caste sections, and that would indirectly help the MGB. So I would rather like to believe that Congress being left out is rather strategic. Otherwise, they wouldn't have left the 2 seats. As far as Amethi Raebareli is concerned, they are very much clear that if SP and BSP put up a candidate in Amethi Raebareli, as a cephalologist, with all seriousness, I can say it on record that in that case it will be really tough and difficult for the Congress to pull off Amethi and Raebareli as well. So MGB leaving, Mahagathbandhan leaving out these 2 seats is actually to help out the Congress, and Congress contesting in rest of the 78 seats is actually to help out the Mahagathbandhan.
Okay, so a little friendly fire going on over there. I want to come to another point. We've spoken about UP and its impact, but we must talk a bit about the other large blocks of seats which come in from big states. Maharashtra, one of them. We have to speak about Tamil Nadu and Bihar and states like that. And Amitabh, I want to come to you on that point, because when we're asking the basic question that SP-BSP is trouble for BJP, but can they make it across the finishing line for 2019? In the state of Maharashtra, Shiv Sena and BJP say they will fight separately. How much will that hit the BJP? In Tamil Nadu, though AIA-DMK wasn't officially part of the alliance, it was a friendly sort of party. DMK is a UPA alliance. Stalin wants to see Rahul Gandhi as Prime Minister, and he's in a good position to make a big headway in Tamil Nadu. Likewise, in Andhra, the whole block of seats perhaps that the TDP won can now move over, considering Chandrababu Naidu has left the fold. In the bigger picture, do you think the BJP has a lot more to worry about rather than just Uttar Pradesh? Of course, Uttar Pradesh is one big headache.
Yeah, it has similar headaches in Maharashtra.
Yeah.
And if Shiv Sena and BJP do not fight together, then of course it will be trouble for BJP. But it will be more trouble for Shiv Sena in that sense and not significant trouble for BJP. Tamil Nadu, BJP was not anyways there, so the 37 odd MPs which AIADMK won were not part of NDA. So whatever seats, and there is a history of people voting for alternate parties there. So if DMK, so it is a chance of DMK to win maximum seats there. So if they win some seats, it will add to the UPA bloc, but those numbers were not with BJP anyways. In Andhra, an interesting thing could happen is that YSR Congress is soft towards NDA. So if, and there is a trend there as well of parties being thrown out or different parties winning in different elections. So YSR CP could actually add to the NDA tally if the need arises, because Chandrababu Naidu is not expected to do that well. More so, we are also hearing that his alliance with Congress might not go off because of the poor performance in Telangana.
YSR Congress, that's Jagan and KCR are a different proposition altogether. I want Yashwant to come in on this very quickly, because both leaders would possibly prefer a federal front as option number one. Option number two may be backing or being part of an NDA-led alliance. And then third option perhaps would be to even look at a Congress-led alliance, or maybe not an option at all.
Well, I mean, let's say one by one. The option number 3 is absolutely out of question for a simple political understanding that TRS actually has Congress as the prime opponent in Telangana, number one. And let's also not forget that TRS contested as part and parcel of the UPA or the Mahakutmi as such in 2009 general elections, and right after the elections were over, before the votes were counted, within 12 hours he had joined the NDA bandwagon. He has officially joined the NDA right after the polling was over. So people forget these smaller details very quickly, but for all practical reasons, TRS has to be counted and should be counted for in real politics as a potential ally for NDA. Same goes with Jagan Mohan Reddy, for a simple reason that he had a very bitter relationship, particularly with Tanjanpat after his dad died. And Congress is in direct alliance with TDP. So all said and done, it doesn't seem practical for me that they would be joining, both of these gentlemen would be joining the Congress bandwagon. Point number 2, the option number 2 of the federal front, yes and no, depends on what kind of numbers that they come up. There would be just way too many prime ministerial candidates within the federal front, and we have seen Biju Janata Dal already having said that they would not like to be part of any front as such. They might change their decision, but yes, the entire east coast of India does have the core elements of the federal front, if they are possible, including the Mahagathbandhan now. So they all in all, starting from Mamata Banerjee to Biju Janata Dal to Jagan Mohan Reddy to TRS to DMK, while DMK has already stated that they are with the Congress, but they have the numbers, they have the component. It all depends on what kind of numbers Congress actually gets along in the final tally. If the Congress crosses 100 and 100 lands somewhere between 130, 140, then there would be a very strong chance of these people rallying with the Congress. But if the Congress goes, even after making a double jump, maybe gets below 100 or something like that, then these people are these two gentlemen are more likely to end up with NDA, because then in that case BJP would be probably closer to the majority numbers. So it all depends what will happen, and all these numbers are going to be added up on the post-poll alliance situation. As of now, it's very difficult to say, but it looks in all probability it looks less probable for these two to join the Congress front and more probable to join the NDA front.
Mr. Sharma, your take on all the scenarios probably coming out of this Gathbandhan. One more scenario we've not spoken about, and let me come to you with that, is this non-Congress, non-BJP front. Because by keeping the Congress out on the face of it, Mayawati at least is opening the doors for that kind of an option, isn't she? An option which Mamata Banerjee is also open to, which KCR is trying desperately to drive.
Federal front has been floated a number of times in the past. Even in 2014, if you remember, 2009, if you remember, that the CPM announced a federal front with Mayawati. Prakash Kharat was the General Secretary of the CPM, and it died a premature death. You see, alliances and coalition governments get formed. They are conceived on the strength of who has got what numbers. And then people get together, come to the table with their respective numbers. And the party that constitutes the core of that coalition is the party that later dictates terms. In 2004, where the results were surprising, and the Congress emerged as the single largest party, I mean, you see, other parties gravitated towards the Congress. So single largest party, certainly being a single largest party, gives you an advantage in the negotiations. You negotiate from a position of strength. But in the case of BJP slipping from 282 to anything below 182, around 150 or so, the most interesting scenario will be that if BJP has to be acceptable to other partners, to other parties, then will Mr. Narendra Modi will continue to be acceptable as the prime ministerial candidate. Because much of the political alienation that the BJP is facing is on account of, on account of the political temperament of the leadership of today's BJP. And it is that temperament that has caused alienation with the Shiv Sena. It is that temperament that has caused alienation with the TDP, with the Kushwaha group party, which is now quit, NDA and joined the Lalu Yadav party in Bihar. So even Jitanram Manji had defected. PDP.
Absolutely.
You see, there are so many political parties which have felt alienated from the NDA on account of temperamental issues. So I personally feel that the big question will be that whether BJP can form a government under Mr. Modi if it is 100 seats removed from a clean majority, and where it requires 3-4 partners to boost its chances. That's a big question. As of today, it seems that the BJP will be, stopping very distant from the 282 number which it had in 2014, and much will depend on how much minus it is, and much will depend on how much plus is the Congress.
I want to get views from everyone on the panel on this. A BJP government without Modi, is that a possibility if you look at the number that Vinod Sharma is talking about, say between 100, 150 or up to 150 to 180? Let Amitabh go first. Do you think that's a possibility, or is that a bit of kite flying right now?
I would say it's very much possible, but I would say anything less than 220, 230, it will be difficult for a Modi-led BJP government to come to power. Then BJP will have to look at other options to form the government, because the allies who have been rubbed the wrong way may not back him again.
Yeah.
And his style of functioning is also that he might not be able to perform in a very loose majority.
Yashwant, you don't agree?
Well, as I said, that nothing is impossible in politics. We have seen far too many interesting turns and twists in Indian politics in the last 70, 75, 72 years. But having said that, my understanding says that, if the NDA goes below 240, it will be difficult for them to form the government, number one. And and I don't really think that they will go for a BJP PM candidate other than Modi. My political understanding says that they would rather like to sit in the opposition for 1.5 years and let the other combination form and fall and whatever way, and then try to come back again on a plank of stability. So if that happens, then we might enter a phase of 96 to 99. But I practically and I from a political understanding perspective, I don't really think that there would be a scenario where there would be a NDA or BJP-led government minus Modi just because they are falling short of numbers.
All right, that's interesting. Before we wrap up, I must ask all of the panelists the question that we put on our Twitter poll today for this weekly show. We asked, and it's a yes or no answer, can the BJP still form a government once more in 2019 after the SP-BSP alliance? And since the only option we gave all our viewers on Twitter was yes and no, those are the same options available to all of you. I'll start with Vinod Sharma. What's your answer, yes or no?
No, I don't think so. Not
Yashwant?
with a simple majority.
Yashwant?
Improbable but not impossible.
Yes or no are your options. The same as all of our viewers on Twitter.
I think they can. I believe they can.
Okay. Amitabh?
Yes.
All right. Here on your screen is what all of you said at the end of that poll. I want to thank all of our panelists and all of you for tuning in to one more edition of our special shows as the countdown to the 2019 general election begins.